have it all written down, so it's because my mind gets a little bit addled at times. I'm happy to present this homily on love, especially as it's close to Valentine's Day, which coincidentally was my mother's birthday. I've been trying for the past 40 years to put down in hard copy for my descendants and anyone else who might care to read it, what my feelings and ideas are about love and the central importance and love's central importance in my life and experience. A lot of what I will try to say is the result of personal intermittent study, other church meetings I have attended, university courses, capital UU meetings and homilies, and the various study groups, and especially the Thursday morning discussion groups we have. I'm grateful for all the input from so many great people. I really do believe that love is the answer to the mystery of life. I'm aware that these ideas may be the confused ramblings of an ancient 86-year-old brain, and I look forward to your gentle disagreement and corrections in the forum, when I will not be offended if you amplify, modify, or reject what I say. I know you will do it in a kind, gentle, loving way. I have 3 reasons for inflicting this homily on you. The first one is I was brought up in a working class home in Belfast where money was scarce, but love was plentiful. It was so plentiful and constantly present that I took it for granted, never doubted that it would always be there, but not fully understanding what love was. Like the story of the 2 little fish happily swimming in the sea, who are passed by a bigger, older, more experienced fish who says to them, "Enjoy the water." After he passes, one of the little fish says to the other, "What's water?" I didn't realize that the water I was in was love. The love that surrounded me was completely unconditional, and I didn't always appreciate it or return it until many years after, when my marriage broke up. When my beloved wife withdrew her love and told me she did not want me to call her darling or sweetheart anymore, I was devastated. I began to ask myself again, what is love? I read many books on love and remembered the songs and poems that I had learned in school and at church. These beautiful words that I had learned, sometimes under duress, began to make sense to me, and I think I began to understand love. The second reason is the loss of religion. With the growth of science and the Enlightenment and evolution, I felt I could no longer live in bad faith and had to abandon my mythological religion and the purpose, meaning, and love it gave me. But there was an empty, meaningless void left, and the world seemed colder and lonely without purpose or meaning or basis for ethics and morals. But I didn't want to throw out the baby, that was love, with the bathwater, the mythological religion, and I needed a belief in something that could control my motives and behavior and give meaning and purpose to my life. I needed to put something in God's place. As Sartre and Frankl said, each person has to decide what meaning they give to life. But with the loss of my religion which was non-rational, I also gave up the basis for love and ethics and morals. So what could give meaning to my life? So thought occurred to me, why not put love in God's, his or her place? And the third reason is the world's situation. I think all of us have a deep concern for the state of the world today. There's so much injustice, inequity, poverty, that we seem powerless to change. Anarchy replaces ethics in international relations. Terrible wars that are an affront to our humanity. Humans are in real danger of destroying themselves, negating all our past wonderful accomplishments and never realizing our future potential. Would it be possible to put love as the basics of ethics at an international level? So, I propose love as my religion. Religion comes from the root ligament, which means it binds, ligament binds our joints, bones together across a joint. And religion would also binds us to each other and to our faith. So I don't, if I put love as my new religion, I don't have to believe in things that I know are not true. We do not have to follow the childish definition. Faith is believing something that you know is not true. Instead of God is love, we can think love is God. So I have to define what I mean by love. So love is an attitude, my definition. Love is an attitude or faculty of unconditional affection, attraction, curiosity, caring, respect, and well-wishing for another being or all beings. The Hindu idea of love depicts it as starting from a low level, which they call kama, through romantic love, where it is sometimes difficult to separate from the evolutionary or biological need for reproduction, through mature love, and then progresses up to the highest expression, which they call, can I have a glass of water? Excuse me. The Hindu term at the highest level is Atta Prema, that's a Sanskrit or Pali word, which means completely unselfish self-love, where the lover sees himself or herself in the other, even if the other happens to be an enemy. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks.
Love in action.
Excuse me. So the definition I am using describes love at this highest level. And don't let this lofty definition put you off as completely otherworldly and impractical. Remember that this level describes the highest level of love. I know I'm struggling along somewhere near the bottom, but if I want to, I can ascend higher. Love, so defined, gives me a goal to aim for and helps me discipline my selfish nature and makes me easier to live with and stretches my ability to think and behave in a loving way and gives me purpose and meaning and hope for the future after my number comes up. So we're rational UUs, so we sometimes may wonder about the origin of love. Mythical religions usually say that God or the ultimate cosmic reality is love. But we, as rational UUs, are inclined to be uncomfortable or cynical about the supernatural or mythological God and doubt this expression. We know evolution is a fact. There's just too much evidence for it. We have evolved from earlier beings to reach our present state. The prevalent rational scientific idea is that we and love came from stardust by a series of fortuitous, unlikely events. So, humbly keeping in mind that our continuing ignorance and also being aware of future discoveries that may well supersede our best guesses at present, and trying to use logical, rational reasoning, not reasoning that seems to us in our present state of relative ignorance to be irrational, what might be the possible origin of love? So how did love originate, and what were the evolutionary advantages of love? First, I can imagine that our early ancestors, about 50,000 years ago, who were in small groups or tribes, needed each other for survival. If the members of the group loved each other and protect each other, then they were more likely to cooperate in the hunt for larger prey and more likely to survive when other tribes or wild animals attacked them. Really just self-interest. And second reason, perhaps, is love in humans facilitated sex and reproduction. But love does not always appear to be associated with sex in many animals and some humans. Sex is only a genetically determined instinct. But in humans in Western culture at this time, falling in love is accompanied by these same feelings of unconditional affection, attraction, curiosity, caring, respect, and well-wishing for another human being. I think the best example of love is in how the mother who has just given birth after a lot of suffering loves the crying, fussy little bundle. She gets nothing in return. It has caused her a lot of pain, won't stop crying, bites her when she feeds it, keeps her up at night when she's really shattered, and yet she continues to love the baby unconditionally. I know this does not always happen, but usually it does. I know this was how my mother loved me. Another possible origin for love is described by Harari in his influential book *Sapiens*. He describes what he calls imagined realities. Imagined realities, for instance, might be money, which has no intrinsic value, or religion, or a corporation. These are not physical entities and have no intrinsic value. But if we all agree to consider them as realities, then they are useful to us and help society function. So could love be an imagined reality? Another way to think of it is love is an emergent reality. An example of an emergent reality would be how two atoms of hydrogen and one of oxygen could combine to form water, which is quite different qualities. Similarly, we and consciousness and love could be considered as emergent realities that could not have been predicted from the stardust that we came from. So I can imagine these possible mechanisms could have given rise to the phenomenon of love and made us more successful and fitter for life. But I find it more difficult to explain from an evolutionary point of view that love that I have seen and experienced in other situations. For instance, why do older people past reproduction who are now less physically attractive but they continue to love and spend their whole life caring for their beloved who has perhaps become wrinkled and physically ugly and perhaps has dementia and become crabbed and only speaks to complain? I think of this with my brother-in-law, how he cared for my sister when she was getting so sick with repeated strokes and couldn't speak and couldn't see, couldn't hear. Yet he continued to love her unconditionally. And we know people in our own little community who love like this, don't we? Some of them are too shy to put their faces on Zoom, but we know who they are. So such love seems to me to have transcended evolution. And then how could evolutionary love explain the love that some of us have for deformed or handicapped, non-responsive, or mothers who continue to love their addicted children, perhaps they're incarcerated? And then how does romantic love sometimes continue into old age? As the child's definition states, love is like a little old man and a little old woman who still like each other, even though they know each other so well. And then how can evolutionary love explain the idea of love of your enemies? Such love seems to me to have transcended the love that we can imagine in evolution. It seems to be at a qualitatively different level. So I think love is unconditional. I do not have time to go over all the attributes of love, except to say that in my opinion, love has to be unconditional. It's not dependent on the appearance, the gender, sexual orientation, social class, religion, age, mental capacity, or actions of the beloved. But how can I love my enemy? I think the key is to separate the behavior from the attitude. I have to remember that my enemy is the same as I am inside. Shakespeare said, "If you tickle me, do I not laugh? If you cut me, do I not bleed?" So the enemy has the same flesh, the same aspirations, perhaps with family and kin like me, who wants to have a just, meaningful, happy life. Deep inside, he is no different from me. He has been conditioned to believe and act in a certain way, same as I have. If I had the same genes and experiences as he, then would he, then I would be the same as he is and behave the way he does. Why then would I mistreat him when I'm the same as he and he is me? And Hinduism, again, they have this idea that the highest level of a love, which they call atta prima, is where you realize the other person is the same as you. So you're actually in the other person. Now, I'm not saying love of enemy means you trust, and does not mean we give the enemy a carte blanche, permission to do anything. You may have to fight against unrighteous behavior. I'm not sure how to do this while maintaining an attitude of unconditional love. I think love is the answer to the mystery of life. For me, love replaces God in the mythical abandoned religion. Although love does not answer the existential questions of where we came from or where we're going, but love gives meaning and purpose and a solid basis for ethics and morals. Love can show the way personally, and I think collectively. Recently in a study group, we studied transhumanism and the future. Of course, we don't even know what's going to happen this afternoon, but imaginatively, we can perhaps try to predict and try to influence what we would like the world to be in the future. All sorts of wonderful possibilities wait for our descendants to extend the length and quality of their lives and improve our physical and cognitive abilities, and cure all diseases and explore the universe. But to realize these imagined future, we as a species need to deal with our present problems. To imagine such a future, we need to learn to work cooperatively. We need to get over our problems of hubris and competitiveness and aggression and prejudice and racism and dehumanizing wars. The underlying attitude seems to be underlying attitude needs to be one of unconditional love. Protestants and Catholics, Republicans and Democrats, Israelis and Palestinians have to learn to see each other as they really are inside. As Karen Armstrong said in her Charter for Compassion, we have to dethrone ourselves from the center of our universe and put compassion or love there instead. Love can be the water in which we and future beings all swim. If we can imagine such a vision, we can believe in it, have faith in it, and work to make it a reality. When I started going to UU meetings, Reverend Shauna gave an introductory course on what UUs believe. This she described as love beyond belief. I think this means that belief in love is a more accurate description of Unitarian Universalism than any other religious statement of belief. Belief in and faith in love as the supreme reality gives me purpose and meaning. The supreme reality becomes love, not a mythical god or gods. Although such a faith in love does not explain the origin of the universe or life or predict what will happen in the future, but love can direct and control my present thinking and behavior, and gives me a vision of what I would like the future to be. I can pass on love to the future and so in a sense attain a limited form of immortality as I contribute my little drop of love to the water in which future generations will swim. Yeah, almost finished. At the national and international level, belief and faith and love could give our whole species meaning and purpose and a larger vision of what life is and can be. We don't have to be stuck at the present level of selfish nationalism. Love can give purpose and meaning to life, guide the ethics and behavior of nations and national leaders. They can have a larger view of life and control their hubris, aggression, and competitiveness, and work for the welfare of the whole of humanity and the whole planet, and create the future. Thank you.